Okay, so this is the AlphaMask import plugin method to do cutting out of an image. Obviously the first thing to do is to pick your source image. In this case I'm using a image that one of my Year 7s captured for my media class, and I'm going to cut the egg out of this background. So first thing we do, open up the image you wish to cut out. I'm going to create a new layer, and for this one we're just going to fill it with white. Now the purpose of this is just to give you some contrast. We want to be able to see the background still, but we want it to be easier to draw on the black line on the next layer. So it's probably not so important on this image, but on some images you're going to get a lot of darker shapes. And it's really important that you're able to make out your edge. So when you're drawing black on a dark background, you want to have this layer, and you probably want the opacity higher than I've got it. This is quite a light image, so I'm not too worried. So I'll turn the opacity right down, but I do need to show you that. Okay, one thing I'd suggest you do with any layer that you open is don't leave them as layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, etc. Give them a name. So in this case I'm just going to give it a name white, BG for background, and that explains what that layer is used for. So the next thing I'm going to do, new layer here, and this one I'm going to call mask outline. Would help if I spelt it correctly. So mask outline. And the other thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the opacity down on this one as well, and that's just so that I'll be able to see the image below the lines that I'm drawing on. Now, making sure I've got that layer selected, it's really important that this all goes onto this layer. So first thing I'm going to do is to grab the line tool. I'm going to pick a brush width which is appropriate to my image. In a small image like this, I'd say probably 15-20 is great. If you've got a much larger image, you're going to want to use a wider brush, where it is going to take you hours. Now, with that line tool selected and black selected, probably doesn't really matter on the color, except that when it goes to grayscale for the alpha mask, if it's not black, it's going to let some of the so it's going to make it slightly transparent. So I tend to use black, and I'd suggest you do, because you don't know how your color's going to operate otherwise. Now on this mask outline, probably a good idea also to zoom in, particularly if you've got a more complex object. Now this is not a complex object, so it's going to be pretty easy to do. Start your curves. Now you'll notice that I'm using now the right mouse button to move those nubs or handles. They'll operate completely differently if you use the left, and you can find out more about that in the help files from memory on the curve line tool. Now if I can work out how to do it using Jing, I'm going to fast forward this section so it either moves at like 1,000,000 miles an hour, or I'm going to edit it completely out. Now you'll notice that my lines, as I'm drawing them, I'm overlapping them first of all, and the outside edge of the line is lining up with the outside edge of the object. Now what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to achieve with that, if you have a look at the edge of the line, and I might zoom in even closer, this is solid line here, on the edges are the anti-aliased lines. Obviously different shades of grey to make the line appear smoother. It's those different shades of grey that are going to give me the transparency to blend this image in to the new background. Okay, zooming back out again, and I'll just really roughly finish this egg shape. I'm not too concerned about it being accurate for the demonstration, but obviously you would take time to do so. So once the object's fully enclosed, which means you basically got the whole mask shape outline, all of the lines need to cross over each other. That's really important. They need to fully enclose the shape. To just check if it's fully enclosed, grab the magic wand and just select the inside of your object. If it spills out, the magic wand will select some of the outside area as well, so we know that that's not selected. Okay, now we're going to select the outside of the object, and I'd suggest turning up the tolerance to about 68% seems to work the best from what I've seen. And we're going to select the outside of the object and most of the anti-aliased edge, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So what it's left outside of that selection is the solid black. Now what I'm going to do with that selection is I'm going to use it to inverse the selection, Control I to inverse the selection, or you can go up to, I think it's Edit, Invert Selection. I've used Control I obviously, to invert that selection, and that's going to give me from the solid black edge of that line the whole inside edge. I'm going to grab then the paintbrush tool. I'm going to set it to a huge number like 500, make sure that the black marker, black pen's still selected, and just draw over that to fill in that mask. Control D to deselect. On that mask, change it all the way back up to full opacity. Change the white background all the way back up to full opacity. And I'm going to merge that the mask down to the white background. Okay, that's my actual mask complete. So what I'm going to do now is Control A to select all, Control C to copy it to the clipboard, turn that layer off. I'm going to go up to Effects, AlphaMask. Now you'll need to select Paste from Clipboard, and what you'll notice too is that it'll cut out, generally it'll cut out with the mask as it is, where black remains and the white disappears. So that's what you'll end up with. I had already inverted the mask, so that's what it came up with. So there's my cutout. And now just to show you what that does, why it's much better than the feathering technique, I'll just add in a new layer and move that in behind my object. I'll pick a nice colour like blue that'll really show up, and I'm just going to fill in an object in behind my object here, zoom right in to show you. And as you can see, that anti-aliased edge, where the shades of grey were, has changed the opacity of those particular pixels so that it allows some of the object from underneath to show through. Okay, so with that colour that I added and that one, what I can do with that if I want to take it into a different object, a different image, I'll go File, Save As, and I'm going to save as a PNG file. PNG preserves transparency, so I can save it as that type, and then I can use that image when I want to use that image in a new image. I can go Layers, Import from File, and select that object.